Almost that time. All right, we're finally here. It's showtime. The Network Nation, baby. The number one nation for the nation to the nation. And boy, do I have a doozy for you today in light. I know it's the last day of Women's History Month, but we caught it. We caught the 31st, baby, with one of the most important pieces of the puzzle. Miss Tanisha Tony, the incomparable from Lux Platinum, here in the studio, in the flesh, baby, to break it down, guys, give y'all all the sauce, all the information on what it takes to be successful in business. None other than Miss Tanisha Tony, y'all. Give it up, give it up.
Thank you. Hello, Ron. Ron,
Ron.
Ron, I'm just gonna say my husband gonna be mad because I'm Tanisha Burke now.
We'll cut that. We'll edit that out of the video.
Yeah. Y'all just gotta know we go way back before I said I do.
Yes, indeed,
Well,
indeed. And let me tell you, Miss Burke, you look dynamic. I mean, literally like something right out of the 90s. I don't know how you do it, but it has to be something a part of the success story. So we're going to kind of like really look behind the weeds here. But how you doing? What's going on with you? How's everything? I know this is long overdue.
everything. Yes. Well, happy Easter to everyone. Thank God he has risen. I'm doing great. I am happy. 2024. Well, actually, I kind of started this in 2023. Was the year of protecting my peace.
Mm.
And being in control of my happiness. And so, since I made that decision, it's just made a world of difference in my life.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow. That is so important to protect your peace. I mean, I know in your universe, you are juggling just unbelievable things being a wife, being a mom, being a business owner, having your friends and family. How do you do things like that? I mean, I know this is the 21st century and there's dishwashers and all that fly stuff. I get it. But how do you do it? How do you pull that off?
Honestly, it's very simple. It's called using a calendar and scheduling everything. And I literally, that when I'm doing my coaching with my business partners, I always tell them we only have 24 hours in a day. And as much as people say, I need to find time, nope, sorry, you only have 24. Or I need to make time to go to the gym. No, you cannot make time, you cannot find time. You have 24 hours in a day. And every successful person, they're working off of a calendar. That's the secret sauce. They're working off of a calendar, and if it's important to them, they schedule it. And that's how you're able to get everything done.
Wow. You see, there's so much sauce in the simplicity. I like that. Keep it real simple. Get a calendar. Listen, I am just excited. I'm trying to hide my excitement, and you're right, this is long overdue. But I really want to get my audience to understand. I know what's in the mind of most business entrepreneurs, but can you take us back to the time where it all began? I'm sure before the Tanisha Burke that we see on stage today on this platform, there was a younger version of yourself. Can you bring us into how that version of you looked like as a young woman growing up?
Absolutely. I grew up in Westchester County, New York. My mom was, divorced. My father was around, but my mom was divorced. So she was pretty much a single mom raising two kids. My oldest brother, he and I are 11 years apart. And so as soon as he turned 18, he left. So I did grow up pretty much as a single, as a just as a child by myself, no siblings really, in the household. And went to school, but I was that person who, was bullied in school. I wasn't smart, so I didn't fit in with the smart kids. I didn't play sports. I was overweight, so I didn't, fit in with the jocks. And, I was pretty much a loner, growing up in school. I hated high school. I couldn't wait to get out of it. So the person that I am now, honestly, is pretty much the opposite of who I was growing up, because I had very, very low self esteem growing up, very low self esteem, didn't have a lot of friends. So, I guess I'm the evidence, Ron, that it doesn't matter where you come from.
Wow. No, that is
It doesn't matter
absolutely
where you come
amazing.
from.
That is amazing. Now, you hear people say that, but you never quite hear it like this. And as long as I've known you, I could have never pulled that out of a hat, even if I tried, right? So, what was it? Was there someone in your life back then that was encouraging, that was, knowing that all that was going on in your life? Was it somebody that kind of was there to kind of, see you as you potentially obviously have become? But was there anything like that going on back then?
Definitely along the way, people were put in my life where our paths crossed, who saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. Because, like I
Mm,
said, I was always overweight. So my self esteem, up until I became well into my 30s, was very, very low. But I do remember, um, and you know what's weird, Ron? I always, in the back of my mind, felt like I was better than how I really saw myself. Like somewhere in there is an amazing Tanisha, but how does she, how do I bring her out, And I'll tell you this: change your circle, change your life.
mm, mm.
Change your circle, change your life.
It's
You
powerful.
have to surround yourself with people who are more successful than you, making more money than you, smarter than you, so that you're able to glean from them.
Mm.
They say if you hang around four broke people, guess what that makes you? The fifth broke person, right? But if you hang around four successful people, then guess what that's going to make you? You're going to be successful by default, because you're going to start to do the things they do. You're going to start to speak the way they speak. But I remember, I think my earliest memory of having someone make an influence in my life was when I was working at a sports medicine doctor's office in Rye. And I was working in the front desk, checking people in. And the administrator, everybody hated this administrator. I mean, she was mean to everybody. She was really scary, scary. But for some reason, I liked her. I was probably the only person there that was drunk. She was a alpha female. Like, you don't mess with her, you don't cross her.
Right.
Anyway, she had a position. She posted a position for a personal assistant. And I thought about it, but I'm like, oh, she probably wants someone who could do, PowerPoint. I don't know anything about PowerPoint, and I thought of all of these things that she was probably looking for, and I felt that I wasn't good enough to do. So I never even applied for it. Well, fast forward, she hired someone else, and then I was making a decision to move to Maryland. And so, I put in my notice, and on my very last day, she took me out to lunch. And at that table, she said, why did you not apply for the personal assistant
Mm.
position? Because you would have gotten it.
Wow.
And I was just like, what? And I said, I didn't think I could do it. And she said, you would have been amazing at it.
Mm.
And so that was the first time that someone believed in me more than I believed in myself. And so it boosted my confidence.
Mm.
And so once I made that move to Maryland, one of my first positions was an administrative assistant of an entire call center department. And, and I grew up from there, but it was that one conversation
Mm.
of someone pouring into me that believed in me more than I believed in myself. And it was just enough for me to hold on to that and bring it to Maryland. And so when the position became available, I said, I'm going for it. So every, personal assistant position that was out there, I started applying for it, and then I got it. So that was it.
Isn't it amazing the power of words? I know we talk that talk a lot and speak positive attributes, but isn't it amazing? I mean, just listening to that story makes the hair that I don't have stand up on the back of my neck. It's amazing because here is someone you didn't know from Adam. that saw something in you. And man, I bet if she saw you now, she would be, I knew it. I called it. I called it. I called it.
Yeah, and I've looked for her too. I can't find her. I'm hoping one day I do find her because I would love to, say thank you
That would be
because she
absolutely.
really changed my life. She absolutely changed my life.
So, Tanisha, it seems like you're kind of moving to the next question because one of the things that we know, especially, let's be realistic, this is the 24 year, but make no mistake, we do know that you as women, women in general, have so many barriers and challenges and things like that ahead of you. You guys would have to be under a rock not to hear all the things that's been going on in the media with the Cosbys and with this, and now with our buddy Diddy, who actually went to the same grade school. I'm a little older than him, but anyway, the point is that women have it so difficult, right? And even your story, as amazing as it is, I mean, right out the gate, you're dealing with all these other things. So we have to acknowledge what women are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So how do you encourage women to navigate through all of that and kind of like get to where you seem to be going and have already been? And what are some of the steps that they have to do? Now, I noticed you said something about having confidence and self-esteem, and I don't know if those women that are victimized because maybe they have low esteem. I don't know, but I just know there's a problem that we do have to address. And since we're on the topic of women, what do you think about that topic, and what's your input there?
That's a great question, and as we always say, hindsight is 2020,
Yes.
right? And if we knew back then what we know now, we would look at things differently, maybe make some different choices. And so what I'm going to share now is basically a reflection of having lived, it'll be 52 years next month, and now reflecting back on that. And here's what I would say: we were born for greatness, but programmed for failure.
Mm. Say that one more time.
We we were born with greatness in us, but society has programmed us for failure.
Mm.
And so the system, as much as we would like to think that the system is against women, against Black people, against, whatever, it's really not. The system is against all of us except for the 1% who
Mm.
control all the money. That
Mm.
is the truth. And so they just put these little things out there to make us think that, oh, it's harder for women, it's harder for, the Black man, it's harder for, LGBTQ, it's harder for, and at the age I am now, I don't buy into any of it. I see the game that's being played, and it's really not. It's really all of the 99% united against the 1% that's controlling everything. And you don't see who the 1% are. You think it's the people that are on TV, but it's not. And so the first step is stop playing the victim.
Mm. That's important. Mm. Mm. Mm.
Stop playing the victim, because honestly, Ron, if we look at it, what do you have access to as a man that I don't have access to as a woman? Nothing. What does my Caucasian neighbor who lives next door to me in this gated golf community have access to that I don't? Nothing.
Mm.
So when people talk about being, disenfranchised or whatever, I don't buy into it, because there is no one of us, the 99%, that has access to anything that the other people in the 99% don't.
Mm. Facts.
I mean, LGBTQ. Okay, what don't they have access to that me as a heterosexual female have access to? Nothing. We all have access to the same stuff. So really, it comes down to our own decisions.
Mm.
It comes down to the choices that we make, good, bad, or indifferent. We are all where we are based on choices that we make. I don't blame anybody for anything negative that has happened to me. Even when I was in corporate America, and I remember going for a position that I was literally hired for, but then they moved it out of my department and then into another department. So then it's posted, and I'm like, I'm a shoo-in for this. I was actually hired to do this job. And it said degree preferred. So I'm like, okay, well, I have the experience. And literally right before my interview, I got a call and saying human resources changed the requirements and now it's degree required. Why? Because they had someone they wanted to put in a position and they wouldn't have been able to justify why they didn't give it to me for something that I was literally hired to do and had been doing for years. And I was upset about it. But at the end of the day, that's their company. They could do whatever the heck they want. Right?
Facts.
Which
Facts.
is why I went into entrepreneurship, because now I could do whatever the heck I want. And I get to choose who I want to do business with. If I don't like you, I don't have to do business with you. If I love you, I can take you under my wing and help you. So even with that, it's like that's their business. Okay, Tanisha, if you want to, be treated fairly, if that's what you want to call it, then you start your own business and you do what you want to do. So yeah, I don't buy into none of that. I used to, because it's all over the news and that's what they put out there, and they want women to feel like they're less than, and it's a bunch of BS, to be honest with you. That's just this is the world according to Tanisha. But I just don't buy into that. I'm not walking around in shackles. I don't have a chain around my neck, around my ankles, or around my wrists. I wake up every day with free will to do what I want to do. And I could choose to be a victim and buy in to everything that society is putting out there, or I could wake up as a boss and make decisions and take control of my life. And that's what I chose to do. So I don't feel any of these things that they're saying that, oh, women have a hard time. No, you can exit. This is where entrepreneurship comes in. But understand, they don't teach entrepreneurship in college. They don't want you to know about residual income, because if they did, you wouldn't work a job. You would have always been an entrepreneur. Right? And so that's that power that we have. Everybody has the power to exercise their entrepreneurial rights and start a business. I believe we were all born with gifts, and we
Absolutely.
should take those gifts and turn it into a business to supply our needs. And nobody can stop you from doing that.
Oh my God. What I'm telling you, so many nuggets are dropping on my floor. I got holes in them, baby. Holes. Whoever done missed this one, y'all, we can shut it down literally right there, guys. I mean, listen to what you just said here. So, can you imagine? Now, I think you and I have a very unfair advantage, right? We both grew up in the New York area. We used to joke that, I know I did. You see the same, who was on the corner at 8 o'clock in the morning. You come home from work, not you 5 o'clock, they out there. You go to the store at 1 in the morning, they out there, right? And so I
Mhm.
think you and I, our vantage point, because we've lived in certain areas and had the opportunity to kind of move around and see things from a broader scope, right? We used to talk about people in Harlem that never left Harlem, never left the Bronx,
Yep.
never left, Staten Island. They just don't do it. And some of those in the audience can attest to me that knew me when I grew up. I was like, let's go here. We're going there. Good. Conan, what are you doing? Let's go. And I think that is really what changed my landscape. And I don't know, maybe it's the same for you, but when you started to see people from all different areas, I know you got connections in Atlanta, as do I, family in the South, up north, in different places. And then you were able to see, I like what you said about how that game is played with the masses. You start to see that a hood in New York is no different from a hood in DC. It's no different than the hood in Chicago and Compton. They're all chasing the same drugs and the same fame and
Mhm.
fortune. So I love the way you put that. How do you get that mind released? What does it really take? Is it the opposition? Is it somebody telling you you can't do it? I know a lot of us are motivated differently. What was it for you?
Yeah. I think, and you kind of just touched on it, travel.
Mm.
You have to get out of your area. There's some people who still have never left the hood. They've never left New York,
Facts.
right? The closest they've been, if they grew up in a city, the closest they've been is, upstate Poughkeepsie,
Okay.
to leave the area. And my parents, one thing I can say about my dad and my mom, they love to travel, especially my dad. At one time he drove a truck, another time, he was a chauffeur. So, he Papa was a Rolling Stone, so he had people all over the place. And so, he was a big influence in my life as well as my mom, but more so my dad, because he didn't live in a home and I would, go with him on summers and stuff. It was the traveling and seeing
Mm.
um what I didn't have. I remember one summer my dad picking me up and we went to one of his friends' house in New Jersey, and they had a huge house. And they had this young boy, their son, and I remember just seeing he had so many toys and things. They were well off, and this boy had everything. And so I'm like, for me, it was like, oh, these people are rich. These are like the Cosbys that we seen on TV, right? They're rich. They got the big, big house. This little boy has this huge room with all these toys. And I was just like, wow, people like me live like this? Because I thought everybody struggled with a single mom,
Sure.
like me, where my mom was never home because she was a nurse working in a hospital and doing private duty.
Wow.
So it was that exposure to see that, Tanisha, there's life outside your bubble. And at a very young age, and I don't know where I picked this up at, but I always felt that if someone has done it before me, there's
Mm.
absolutely no reason I can't do it. I don't
Facts.
know where I picked that up from, Ron, but that always stayed with me. So when I saw someone who looked like me, who had a big, big house and the fancy cars, and I was like, I could do it too. I just had to find how. I didn't know the how, but I was like, if they could do it, I could do it, because they made it possible, because they've done it, and I saw it, I witnessed it. And so I think that that's a very important piece for everyone. People need to travel and experience other cultures, other people, other foods, other religions, other just everything. Not to change you, but to have respect
Mm.
for other people and what they go through, right? And to also expand your mindset that anything is possible. I
Mhm.
remember with my current company, we every week, for the last few years, we would have an event, and it was on a yacht,
Mm.
and the event was always on a yacht. And I think about growing up, where we grow up, the only yacht we saw around was on Miami Vice with Philip Michael Thomas, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
here it was, now every year I'm on a yacht. So now my mind is expanded. Do I want a yacht with my next house on the beach? Do I want a yacht? Maybe, because now I've been on one. So I think people traveling, it's so important to travel and experience other cultures, other everything outside of what you grew up with.
Mm. That is a powerful position, Tanisha. And I love the way this interview is going. I mean, if you are not listening in and taking these nuggets to value, you guys are blowing it, because we've talked about a lot of the things that systematically has been put in place to hold women back. But as Miss Burke laid out for you today, it seems to be everything is the battle seems to be won and lost in our minds, right? And so
That's
as
it.
she's sharing the right attitude, the right approach, and I love what you said earlier, surrounding yourselves, with the right people. I mean, obviously, when you and I met, we've been together ever since, right? So there's certain people that come along, and you already know, right? We did the
Yep.
friendly faces. It was automatic.
Yes.
We traveled to New York. We've done everything. And let's think about this now. My wife, she don't let me just go with anybody. Like I said, I'm going to New York with Steve Tony. Okay, all right, go ahead on up there. Now, I want to talk about mates, because we don't give our mates enough credit. Entrepreneurs, there is no way in hell we can do the things we do unless we have the right people in our
Mm.
lives that we wake up to day to day. How do you talk to your young women audience out there when they're trying to make that type of decision with a male? what are some of the key factors of a man when they're making those decisions? And I know everybody has certain things, obviously everyone says God fearing, and that's a big part of it. But make no mistake, the life of an entrepreneur is a whirlwind of events. How
Not
do
for the
you
faint of
give
heart.
them that knowledge of how they select a person? Like
Well,
Mr.
that's a good
Burke. How does
question.
that happen?
That's a good question. And you know what? I think that's two separate conversations, Ron, because you got to look at dating
Mm,
versus being married,
mm,
because
mm.
it's a totally different conversation when you're married,
Yes.
because you made a commitment to this person, and you're going to support them, and you become one. And I mean, I'm thankful and grateful that even though my husband and I had started a business together, a DJ business, and it was a little rough in the beginning, but I think what helped us along through that is we had to really recognize each other's strengths
Mm,
and let that person focus on their strengths. My husband was good with the music and the editing and the DJing and stuff. And guess what? I was good with the administrative side. I was good with the making the contacts with the clients and the payments and stuff. And I was, so I made it very clear, don't come over here and I ain't gonna go over there. I ain't gonna tell you what to do with the music, but don't tell me how to run the admin side.
mm,
Right. That's what I do. I collect the money, I set the contracts, I do all of that. So I think really honing in on each other's strength, knowing each other's strengths and weaknesses, and making sure that you set your business up, and having those boundaries of, okay, you're doing this and I'm doing that, and respect that. I think that's what helps with marriages. And even with my current business, when I started it, my husband wanted nothing to do with it, but he was like, I will support you. And I said, okay, that's all I really needed was him to support me. And what made him come on board with me is the fact that I started bringing home the checks. See,
mm,
some women or some people in the business, or they claim they're in business, they're doing business, they're standing on business, but they ain't bringing no checks in.
mm,
And so
mm,
to the other spouse, it's like, you playing around. You taking all this time away from us and the kids and the family and the household, and you claim you out there doing business, but I don't see the money. The
mm,
bills are still piling up.
mm.
So entrepreneurship, like we were saying, Ron, it's not for the faint of heart. It's the jungle. It's the jungle. And if you say into your spouse, I'm gonna go out here and hunt in the jungle, you better bring home the deer. Plain and simple. As long as you bring home the deer, they're gonna fall in line. But if you out there hunting and you coming home and everybody's starving and you can see their ribs, this is gonna be a problem. This is gonna be a problem. Now,
Yes.
if we talk about single people, it's a totally different story. And I would say to my women, until you secure the bag, just stay single.
Mm,
Because
mm.
these boyfriends they're just not gonna understand unless they're an entrepreneur themselves.
Right.
Because in the beginning, right, when you think about when you and your beautiful bride were dating, y'all spent a lot of time together. But if you're in business, your business becomes your boo, your
Mm,
bae.
mm.
So it's like that's that temporary sacrifice in the beginning for long-term gain. And just a lot of boyfriends or girlfriends are not going to understand that. So it's like, if you're dating, you need to date someone that is like-minded with you, that is also an entrepreneur, so that they can respect your hustle.
Facts, facts, facts. Oh, such jewels. So many businesses fail because, like you said, the wrong choices, someone not behind them, not for, that complication. I love what you said, that your business is your boo, because it really is. And I think that probably has a lot to do why so many people dip their toes in business. And like you said, if you're not bringing home the deer and different things happen. But tell us how it's so worth it if you're willing to go all in and take that risk. Explain that to us. Obviously, Lux Enterprises is very successful. What does that look like when you take those chances?
Oh my gosh, I remember. Well, first, I always say, if you see the glory but you don't know the story. right?
Mm,
I didn't come from a family with money. And when my husband and I moved to Florida, we struggled for years. I'm that person that I've had an eviction notice on my apartment. I remember having lights turned off on a Tuesday and can't get them turned back on till Friday payday. I've had the car repossession. I lost two houses to foreclosure
wow.
in 2008, the housing crisis.
Mm,
I remember having to borrow money from my father-in-law to help pay the rent when we first moved in Florida. I remember my family having to, give me money to help with diapers and milk. And I
mm,
remember being so broke, could not even afford to take my son to the dollar store to buy a toy as a child. And I was sick and tired of window shopping, Ron. I was tired of going, to the stores and just looking and not being able to purchase.
mm,
But I kept looking and I kept dreaming because I had to manifest success in my life. I
mm,
didn't just stay in my circle. I kept going to the BMW dealer and walking around like I had access to the money to buy one. I kept
mm,
going to I call them vision quests. I would go to the $1 million homes and, the open houses and just sit there, sometimes for hours, like it was mine, and imagining, where am I going to put the Christmas tree? I manifested everything that I have right now.
mm,
And so it's worth it. I remember when I started the business and my husband and I were just struggling so bad, I had to have a family meeting first. My son was 6 years old. And I said to them, I need you guys to give me 2 years to build this business. And what that meant for my husband was, boo, you might come home and dinner's not ready. Oh, well, figure it out and make sure I eat too. Right. It meant I needed him to take the lead with my son and, make sure he ate dinner and took a bath and was in bed by 8. Cause I'm going to be working this business, Friday night, sorry, boo, can't do Netflix and chill. I'm going to be working the business, right? The weekends, you take Jace to the park. I'm going to be at these meetings. I'm going to be crisscrossing the planet, to build this business. I was going all in,
mm,
um, because I was being targeted at my job, number one, and I was sick and tired of being sick and tired.
mm,
And I remember when I started the business, my husband was like, why, we just got our heads above water and now you want to start this thing, because he didn't believe in the business. Now you want to start this. And I told him, I'm tired of being in the water. I want to get the heck out of the water. So I'm going for it. And it's so worth it. I remember the day I was able to walk away from my job. Within 20 months of starting my business, I had doubled my corporate salary. And I told them, deuces, I'm out. At the same time that they were firing me, by the way. So it was like literally I hit what I needed to hit right on time, right? But I remember that first day that I was home. Now I'm a full time entrepreneur at home, and my son was sick. And it hit me like a ton of bricks because for the first time in all of his life, I did not have to call my aunt or my mother to come and watch my son while I go to work. I
mm,
was able to be home and
mm,
be a mom. And it brought me to tears. And I'm like, wow,
mm,
this was so worth it. Just to be home today with my son who's sick and not have to have somebody else come and take care of my responsibility, it
mm,
made it all worth it. And even though the money is great, the thing that I appreciate most about my sacrifice is the time. That time is priceless. We all know how much money we have, but we don't know how much time we have. The fact
mm.
that, my
Facts.
mom will be 80 this year and I can spend as much time with her as I want, Not I'm at work and she's doing whatever. I can spend as much time with her as I want. That's priceless. So it's always worth it. And you may forget the work in the beginning, but the work won't forget you.
Mm,
And so with entrepreneurship, we work like a dog so that later we don't get treated like one.
mm. I mean, absolutely gold standard facts, Tanisha Burke. I mean, I am just amazed at these answers. I mean, I am so thrilled and so honored to be able to interview you in this way. I know we don't have much more time, but wow, what's next? What's next for Tanisha Burke? I mean, you've done
Ooh,
a lot of things over these last 5 to 10 years. Like, where are we going next? What's up? What do we got?
there's always another level, but you have to be exposed to those levels. I don't even know all the levels, right? There's other doors. So I just want to I will be the first millionaire in my family. I may not have come from money, but money's going to come from me. And sometimes we need to pray for people, but there's other times we need to pay for people. And I want to be, in a position to, be a blessing to other people. Right now I'm supporting, in addition to my own household, because of making a decision to be an entrepreneur, I support 3 other households. I help them. So all of my money is not all of my money. So I need a lot more money. So, I may decide I want that yacht. Guess what? I don't have yacht money right now, right? I have a mortgage. So you ain't made it if you still owe on your house and you have a mortgage, right? You might have a nice big house in a gated golf community, but you got a mortgage on it. You don't own it. So I got to keep going. I got to keep going. There's no, some people say, you got to think outside the box. There is no box. So it's whatever we want. I'm creating whatever I want. And I was recently just telling my husband, I said, we need to start going back to looking at some of these houses, because it's like the houses that I used to see before and be like, wow, I wonder what these people do to live in a house. Guess what? Now I have that house. Right? I'm living in the house that I used to ooh and ah over. So I'm like, we got to go bigger. I need to be exposed, because I'm not seeing anything that's making me say that's the next one. I have to even expose myself to bigger and greater, to expand my mind, because like you were saying, the inner me is the enemy. The inner me is the enemy. So I have to expand my mind and expose myself to other things. I want the house in Belize on the beach that my whole family can go to, that I don't have to list it as a Airbnb when I'm not there. I want it to stay empty until I go there. If I leave, my flip flops on the side of the bed and don't go back for 3-4 months, I want my flip flops to still be on the side of the bed, not, oh, it's stored in a closet because someone's been in and out of my house. I don't want that. I don't know their energy. I don't want anybody's energy in my vacation home. So there's always another level. So I'm just gonna keep going, because I don't know what there is. There's so much. But until I'm 100% debt free, where I own all of my real estate and don't have a mortgage on it, there's always another level. There's always another level.
Wow, that is so awesome to continue to challenge yourself, to push yourself for greatness. I really think that all the women who have been privileged to hear this interview, please, guys, don't let an interview like this go by the wayside. Start to take these powerful words and begin to put them in activity levels, even if it's on the smallest level, right, Tanisha? Sometimes you had to start
Absolutely.
somewhere, right? And from there you build to there, and just start from somewhere, guys. If you can start from somewhere, start here, right? Today, make today that day,
Absolutely.
right? This month, that month, for
Absolutely.
you to begin on that journey.
And
Guys,
Ron,
that's
could I add to that? Let me add
sure.
to that real quick, where I started. One year, it was going into the new year, and I was miserable. I wasn't happy with a whole bunch of stuff in my life, but I made a decision. I got mad, MAD, made a decision
Mhm.
that everything in my life that was not bringing me happiness, I was going to address them one by one and fix it.
Mhm.
So that's where I would suggest everyone starts, whether you're a woman or a man. This is where you take control of your destiny and your happiness. Whatever's in your life that's not making you happy, address it head on, fix it, and then move on to the next thing. Had I
Mhm.
not done that, I wouldn't be where I was. I'd still be living in Maryland, miserable, working for a boss I didn't like, living in a climate I wasn't happy in. I would have just been existing. But because I made a decision to address the things that were not bringing me happiness, I took control of my happiness and stopped looking for a man to make me happy, stopped looking for a job to make me happy. I made myself happy. Until I did that, that's when everything changed for me. So that's what I would encourage everyone to do.
Mhm.
Reflect on your life, look at what's making you happy and what's not making you happy, and address those things.
Wow, I love that. I love it. I love it. I mean, I heard something wise about a decision versus a choice. A choice means you have to do this or you can do that, but a decision means that you're doing that, right? There is no other option. And I love the way you phrase that and coin that, because that is so powerful. Guys, you can make that decision today. Women, you heard it from Miss Burke. Stop being a victim. There's nothing that you can't do out there. There are so many entrepreneurs that are willing to work with you. I know, Tanisha, do you have coaching? I think you do a lot of coaching for up and
I
coming
do.
entrepreneurs. And guys, Tanisha
Absolutely.
helps all people. Anybody in business, you can go on her channel, because we all are like-minded people. And Tanisha, I know you do something. Is it the afternoon podcast you do?
Yeah, the virtual coffee break. So I have a YouTube channel called Lifestyle by Tanisha. Lifestyle by Tanisha on YouTube. And twice a week, I do a virtual coffee break with Tanisha where we talk about business and everything that affects us as business owners.
Powerful, guys. Please tap in. Tap in. As always, guys, your network is your net worth. I'm Ron G, aka your console, the Net Worth Nation, the number one nation to the nation, for the nation, by the nation, with none other than Miss Burke. Give it up, y'all. Round of applause. Peace. We out.